folks. Chris Daly here. And boy, every month I get the treat to talk to a Jamaican who's doing fabulous stuff all around the world. And it's my double delight to introduce Lynda Edwards, one of our prolific writers. She lives in Florida and she's written a new book about Cuba. Boy, that's really interesting. Get a cup of tea, listen in. I think she has a really good tale to tell us. To do the interview will be my partner in crime, Janice. Janice, take it away.
Well, thanks, Chris. Hi, Lynda.
Hey, Janice, Chris, how are you?
It has been a while, and welcome back. For
Thank you.
those of you who do not know, Lynda has been a guest before. So, if when you want to hear the old interviews, just scroll down and you will hear it. But today we're talking about Lynda's latest book, and so Lynda. For her people who don't know you, where did you grow up? What kind of childhood did you have?
I was born in Mandeville in
Mm-hmm.
1967, a long, long time ago. And I grew up in Mandeville until I was 8 years old. Then we left for a little bit, came back and moved to Kingston. So was spent my teenage years in Kingston. And I'm telling you, there's no better place in the world to grow up than Jamaica.
Nice. What high school did you graduate from?
St. Andrews for girls.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Was reading and writing always a thing from your small days, or did it come later?
I always loved books. I was always surrounded by reading and people reading to me. Um, that was always a passion, just storytelling in general. I was surrounded by great storytellers. Mandeville is kind of the country. I mean, they consider it the country, even though it's a vibrant city, thriving city now. But
Mm-hmm.
growing up in the country, you are surrounded by storytellers, and it's really not hard to fall in love with storytelling when you hear it from the best of the best of the best.
I see. Plenty of people say they have a story inside of them, but then now, where do you start? What gave you the courage to actually write this book? Because this is your third book.
This is my third book, and I'll be honest with you, it was actually my first book. Um,
Really?
I watched a documentary in 2003, and the premise of the documentary was that the island of Cuba sat on the lost city of Atlantis. And I thought, oh my God, that is a fabulous, fabulous
Mm.
thought. I mean, what if Castro came to power with all the mysticism and the wealth that Atlantis had? It just got me going nuts.
Kind of got you good. Yeah, I heard. Are you familiar with Art Bell?
Art Bell?
I guess not. Okay,
No.
well, that's where I first learned that Atlantis was supposed to be underneath Cuba. And for those of you who don't know who he is he would do like late night radio, but I believe he retired. His wife passed, and that just changed the trajectory. But they used to have a late night radio show. And then on my way home, I would always listen to the Art Bell show. And so
Wow.
so that's how I learned about Cuba, the significance of Cuba. So your
Well,
book.
they've actually found now that it's in a city in Portugal. They believe
Mhm.
it's a city in Portugal, but I like my version of it better.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the version I learned, from through Art Bell. Your book, I Am Cuba. Why that title? What makes Cuba so special to you? Even though you say Yadi Oman.
I'm a
Well,
I'm a jam donor. I'm definitely a jam donor. Cuba has always held a fascination for Jamaica and for the world. I remember my grandmother telling me stories about going there in the 1930s and 40s. You could actually take a ferry from from Jamaica to Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
and she loved it. She said it was the Paris of the Caribbean. It was
Yeah.
absolutely fabulous. Nightlife, shopping, everything. So that's always had, a kind of a mystique to it. And
Mm-hmm.
then just everything that happened with Cuba, and it just became even more of a fascination for the world, and a mysticism was always there about it. So
Yeah, I see. And a lot there's some trivia. A lot of people don't realize that Rita Marley is Cuban.
that is actually a fact. She is.
Yeah. Yeah, and quite a few Jamaicans would go to Cuba to perform. Well, how you said that they had like a Renaissance type thing, so a lot of Jamaican musicians would actually go to Cuba to perform. So that
That
was
is true.
interesting.
That is
Yeah.
true. And during the 80s, um, Mitzi Siaga was very involved in the art scene there. She
Mm,
supported it quite a bit. So there's
yeah.
a long-standing relationship between Jamaica and Cuba. And there's always been this, mystique about the island that I think everybody really wants to know what what's going on there, what it's about, etc., etc.
Yeah, and well, each Caribbean island carries its own flavor, I would say. If you want to have a more, even though we have a sizable Indian population in our community in Jamaica, if you want to have a real Indian experience, you can go to Trinidad or Guyana. You
True.
know,
True.
so each island just brings something unique to the Caribbean culture, I say. You ever feel like the characters in your book you're talking, they're like real people?
It's interesting. That's happened to me a couple of times. With Josephine in Redemption Songs, because I wrote that book in the first person, I do feel that I was very intimately involved and knowledgeable about her. Funny
Mm-hmm.
enough, with Friendship Estate, the one that spoke to me the most was Brixton. I mean, that was a character that I absolutely fell in love with. And I
Mm.
thought, I just adored him. Um, Absolutely adored him, flaws and all. This book was a little bit more complicated because there are a lot of characters in the book. And they have to be, because it's a story that kind of takes place over 3 generations.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't any one person that kind of stood out to me. I would say if I had to pick one, it would probably be Gabriel, because what he goes through during the course of the book is so intense that when you're writing it, you have to feel it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think he's probably the character that spoke to me the most, because of all, all that he went through, all the decisions that he had to make. And, he was being tugged in one direction and then another. He had to make some major decisions.
Mm. Yeah. That's true that each one brings it.
Mhm.
And so when your book, one of your books starts from a nightmare, another starts from an old time will. I
Mhm.
believe that was friendship.
Yes.
Um, where do you get these ideas from, and how do you know which one to write down?
Oh, that's a fabulous question. Um,
Mhm.
I Am Cuba, as I said, started in 2003 when I saw that documentary, and I started it in 2004. Um,
Mm,
After Redemption Songs, I actually went back to try to write it, and it just wasn't coming. I mean, it was frustrating. It was frustrating me to the point of tears. And my husband was actually, he was going out to get a massage, and I was sitting and looking at a blank screen. I was in tears, and he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I can't. I Am Cuba is just not coming. I don't know where I'm going with this. It's frustrating." He says, "Well, just write something else." And I remember thinking, you know, I was annoyed, because you can't just write something else. Who says that? And I did write something else. I wrote Friendship Estate. But I think what happened was I needed to get those two books under my belt before I
Mm-hmm.
could tackle I Am Cuba, because it's by far the most complicated story that I've ever written. It takes place, like I said, over three generations, and it encompasses a lot of history that I had to do a ton of research for. And I
Mm.
think Friendship Estate prepared me to do the research and to write it the way that it needed to be written. So I think the lesson there, if you're a writer, is books come when they're ready to come.
Yeah, I guess I hear people talk of writers anyway. They would say writer's block, and then you write when you get inspiration. So I guess that would be your situation, you know. For people who don't read much, well, yet, some people would say, "We don't really read book."
Yeah,
As we have to say it in a patois, you know.
yeah, I
We
know.
don't really read book. What would you tell someone like that to get them to pick up
Well, yeah,
your story?
it's interesting because, like I said, I Am Cuba was there was a lot of research involved in I Am Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up happening was my husband got sick, and we were traveling to and from Tampa for his illness, and it was very difficult to do all the research and everything that was needed. So a friend of mine, Dale Mafood, introduced me to a reading program called Speechify. And there's a bunch of them out there. There's Natural Reader. Have a list here because I want to get this right. But there's Audible, of course, but there's Natural Reader, there's Speechify, there's Google Plays, all kinds of things. If you just upload the book from your Kindle, it'll read to you.
Mm-hmm.
What I loved about Speechify was I could upload all my research papers to it, and it would read it to me while I was driving or while I was waiting for him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, it's very interesting to hear Gwyneth Paltrow read patois. That was
Really? Is she? No, she's Cuban, right?
No, she's American, but
Gwyneth Paltrow.
yeah, she's American. The
Hmm. That's
the
this.
American voice with the patois was quite interesting. So that's about the only thing. I mean, I would have loved to have heard it read to me in the voice that was in my head, but you know, that's not
Hmm.
that's not possible yet. They don't have a Caribbean voice yet.
Yeah, I noticed it. Um, for example, if you have your writing things, you can actually put it into, say, there's a program called Narrakeet.
Mhm.
Okay. And they have different versions of English, but they don't have a Caribbean English. And
Yeah.
that I don't, we'll have to do something about that. And with people like you putting out literature, people will realize, hey, this is a market. So we have to make adjustments so that we can, people can learn more about the Caribbean besides the Caribbean through, and it's important, I feel, that Caribbean people or Jamaicans, let me just say us, our community, write about us. Because when you have somebody who's not from our community, they don't get it. They kind of get it, but they don't. And I think there's more heart when you're writing about yourself, and it's going to resonate more. And what I like about listening to audiobooks for me is that I find I've been doing that when I work out. I never used to do that. I would just listen to the music in the gym, but now that that's my new way of working out. So it really works. I like that, you know. But I'm a reader. So I'm not one of the people who say I'm gonna read much book. I do read, but I like that to have that option, you know? If your books were a song, excuse me, what kind of sound would you like? Reggae, mento, lovers rock, ska,
Um,
something else?
Boy, that's I think one of the biggest compliments I've been given about my books is that with all three of them, not one is the same. They're different topics, obviously, but they're also written differently, which I didn't
Mm,
realize I was doing. Um, Redemption Songs is definitely reggae. No
mm-hmm.
question about that. Friendship Estate, that one, I would probably do what Bridgerton did with their music. They took modern day songs and,
What do
they
you say, Bridget? Did you say Bridgerton?
yeah, Bridgerton took modern day songs and played them in the old time way with the violins and the
Oh, you're talking about that show.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, I didn't know what. I was just like,
yeah,
I was in left field. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what she's talking about, it's a series on PBS. Is it PBS or
Netflix,
some channel?
Netflix.
Okay, Netflix. I know it was on something. It was a series, and it's a period piece. So if you're into that type of thing, yeah,
Yeah,
that would be good for you. Okay.
right. And then I Am Cuba. You know, definitely um a lot of Gloria Estefan. Anything that
Okay.
she did. You know, more of the 1950s, 1960s
Mm-hmm.
Cuban type
And
music.
and,
But
and if you go onto I placed I am Cuba on my TikTok, and so what I did was I put the Cuban music from the 40s and 50s in the background,
nice.
so that they could learn about your book and
Thank
get that aura, you know?
Yeah.
So, which part of writing make you feel the proudest? Finishing the book, hearing people talk about it, or something else?
Well, finishing the book is an accomplishment. I mean,
Hmm.
when you hit the end, um, that's a huge accomplishment, and you need to take a few days to kind of savor that. Um, and I'm somebody that will go back and tinker and tinker and tinker and tinker. And even today, I'll go back and read redemption songs and friendship and state and say, boy, I could have changed a word there. I should have reworked that sentence a little bit. I tinkered a lot with I Am Cuba. I mean, to the point where I got sick of the story. Um, so I would, I know, but I think because of how long I Am Cuba took, there's a huge sense of accomplishment. And it's the first one that I've actually been nervous to get reviews about
Okay.
because it took so much out of me to write it. And I would say I'm looking forward. I mean, it's only been out for a month, not even a month yet. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm looking forward to those reviews and to hear what people have thought of it. And, good, bad, or indifferent, I want to hear. I want to hear. I think as Caribbean people, we need that feedback. We need to hear what we're doing well, what we're not doing well, so that we can bring ourselves more
Fine
into the
tune.
stream.
Ah, I see. Yeah, that yeah, feedback is good, whether good, bad, or ugly. But I mean, if you're prepared for the ugly, just develop some thick skin, you know.
You know, and
But
I'm always prepared because I have a I have an attitude where I can always get better.
okay,
And
well,
anything anybody tells me, I always take it as constructive criticism. I have this uncanny ability to not take it personally.
mm, I see. So that's just a part of your thick level of thickness. So if
Yes.
you could go back, say to your younger self, or to your young Caribbean girl dreaming big, what would you say?
I would say that we are all put on this earth to follow a specific path that has been laid out for us.
Hmm.
Sometimes the path is hard to find. Sometimes it's hard to follow. But I think you're given an instinct, and I think especially women need to follow that instinct, that little voice inside of them that knows them better than anybody else, and follow it a little bit more than we do.
I see. Yeah. Did you go to Cuba?
I have not been to Cuba
You
yet.
have. Oh,
Um, you know,
we can go now. It's
I
at
don't know if
least
we can.
from
I don't know if we
no, no,
can.
no. I mean, not with your American passport, but if you have that Jamaican, that what do you call it, the Caribbean passport?
I don't know.
I don't know what it's called, but it's something called it's like a Caribbean passport. You can just go to any island, but use that. You can't use the American one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Okay. So, to learn more about Jamaican diaspora, visit JamaicanDiaspora.com. To learn more about Chris Daly, visit AskChris.com. So, Lynda, tell us how people can get a hold of you.
Well, you can go to my website, which is www.LyndaR.Edwards.com. That's my name. Lynda
Wow.
R. Edwards. There, you'll see all my books, where you can purchase them. I have a great thing going with Carib Shopper right now, which is a fabulous Jamaican West Indian company that is selling Caribbean products.
Yes, they do.
They've been hit with the tariffs, and my books
Oh, no.
have been tariff free because they're printed here. So I urge everybody to go to Carib Shopper, buy the box set. All 3 books are there with a seal on it that comes directly from me and a bookmark. So Carib Shopper, and of course they are available on Amazon. Also on my website, you can find out a little bit more about me as a writer, and all the short stories that I practice the long stories on are actually on my website, so you can get a sampling of how I write.
Okay. Yeah, and so if you guys want to hear the first interview we had with Lynda, you just go on the website and you can hear it. JamaicanDiaspora.com podcast, and you can hear that. But this one will be #2 Lynda Edwards. So the first one's is #1 for Lynda Edwards, and this one is #2. Lynda, we had a really nice time. So you will come back, and when your next book is, because we'd love to have you again. So thanks for stopping by. Bye now.
Bye.
Okay.